Have you ever noticed how often you are bombarded with words like fluent or fluency or fluently when you're looking for language courses online? These words crop up in book titles, video titles, social media tags and blog posts, and they are usually coupled with bold claims that you can achieve fluency in no time. 5 weeks, 3 months, 30 days. Oh, and look out for words like easy or easily, and the suggestion that you can become fluent without knowing how to handle the grammar of your chosen language. On that last point, it has to be said that trying to learn German without learning its grammar is like learning to drive in a car with no wheels. It may be an interesting experience, but it won't get you very far. Without a clear understanding of grammar, there is no language control. And without language control, fluency is no more than an illusion. As an experienced teacher of German, I'll be giving you an introduction in this video to the use of the nominative case, with a particular focus on the definite article, the indefinite article, and the negative form of the indefinite article. After working through this lesson, you will understand sentences like these, and you will have completed an important step towards understanding the structure of German. These 4 cases are key elements in German language education. However, as I said earlier, this lesson is intended as an introduction to the use of the nominative case. So for now, we can remove the others. And before we go any further, we need answers to these 2 questions. What is the nominative case? And what is its function? In answer to the first question, I always find it useful to point out that to nominate means to name. So the nominative case can be thought of as the naming case. And in answer to the second question, what is its function, we can say simply that the nominative case names the subject of the verb. Now, I'll give you a few examples of subjects and verbs with yellow and blue highlighting to keep you on the right track. Der Mann gibt. Die Frau schreibt. Das Kind spielt. Das Haus ist alt. Der Junge wohnt hier. It's always possible to identify the subject of a verb by asking the question who or what. So, for example, who writes? The woman writes. What is old? The house is old. The German for who is wer, and the German for what is was. Wer gibt? Der Mann gibt. Wer schreibt? Die Frau schreibt. Wer spielt? Das Kind spielt. Was ist alt? Das Haus ist alt. Wer wohnt hier? Der Junge wohnt hier. All of the words highlighted yellow in these examples can be described as being in the nominative case. Now, if someone asked you this question, what would your answer be? How do you say the in German? Well, based on what you have just learned, it could be der or die or das. However, once you have learned not only the nominative case but also the accusative and the genitive and the dative cases, your answer might look a bit more like this. Now, in this table we can see that German has 16 distinct uses of the definite article, and within these 16 distinct uses you will find that there are 6 different spellings. Let's highlight these. The word der comes up 4 times. The word die comes up 4 times also. The word das comes up twice. The word den also comes up twice. Des comes up twice. And dem comes up twice. Now I'm going to remove the highlighting from the table, and I will indicate which parts of the table will be relevant for this lesson. We'll be using der, die and das. There will be no plurals in the lesson, so we can remove the plural column, and there will be no examples of the accusative case, the genitive case or the dative case, so we can remove the bottom 3 rows. And just before we move on, a quick reminder of the pronunciation of each of these. Der, die, das. Der, die, das. Now let's move on to the indefinite article. This table has no plural column, simply because the indefinite article, whether in German or English, cannot be followed by a plural. For example, a mouse and a child both make sense, but a mice and a children are both nonsense. In this table we can see that German has 12 distinct uses of the indefinite article, and within these 12 distinct uses you will find 6 different spellings. Now let's highlight these. The word ein appears 3 times. The word eine appears twice. The word einen appears just once. The word eines appears twice. The word einer also appears twice. And finally, einem appears twice. Now I'll take away the highlighting and we'll focus on those parts of the table which will be used in this lesson. They are ein, eine, ein. And just as we did for the first table, we can remove the bottom 3 rows, as we will not be looking at any examples of the accusative, the genitive or the dative cases. And now just a quick reminder of how to pronounce these 3 key words: ein, eine, ein. Ein, eine, ein. Now, at this point, I'm going to introduce the German word for not, which is nicht. And if I give you a couple of adjectives such as alt, which means old, and jung, which means young, you'll not be too surprised to learn that you can place the word nicht before an adjective just as we do in English. So, the man whose picture appears on the left of the screen could be described as alt or nicht jung. And the girl whose picture appears on the right of the screen could be described as jung or nicht alt. However, the word nicht cannot be used to turn a into not a. A man in German is ein Mann, but not a man cannot be expressed in German as nicht ein Mann. That is a mistake. Not a woman cannot be expressed as nicht eine Frau. And not a child cannot be expressed as nicht ein Kind. Mistakes like these are made when people assume that the rules of their own language can be applied to the foreign language which they are learning. Anyway, enough about the mistakes. Let's have a look at the correct version. To turn a into not a, simply attach the letter K to the beginning of the indefinite article. So if the German for a man is ein Mann, not a man will be kein Mann. Not a woman will be keine Frau. And not a child will be kein Kind. What you have just learned about making the indefinite article negative, turning a into not a, applies not only to the nominative case. We changed ein, eine, ein into kein, keine, kein by adding the letter K to the beginning of the indefinite article. The same rule applies to this whole table. So einen, eine, ein becomes keinen, keine, kein. Eines, einer, eines becomes keines, keiner, keines. And einem, einer, einem becomes keinem, keiner, keinem. Our focus in this lesson, of course, is on the nominative case, so we'll be using only kein, keine, and kein. And we can remove the bottom 3 rows from this table. Now, here's a quick summary of what you've learned so far. Der, die, das. Ein, eine, ein. Kein, keine, kein. Der, die, das. Ein, eine, ein. Kein, keine, kein. Let's think for a little while about verbs. Every sentence requires a verb. Without verbs, we could not make statements, ask questions, or give instructions. With verbs, we can express an action, for example, to create or to wash. We can express an occurrence, for example, to glow or to appear. Or maybe a state of being, for example, to remain or to be. Now, on this next screen, you can see that we have 5 verbs listed, highlighted for you in blue: gives, writes, plays, is, and lives. But on each line you can see that there is something missing. In order for these lines to make complete sense, what we need to do is provide a subject for each verb. Every sentence requires a verb, but it's also true that every verb requires a subject. So if we just provide a subject for each of these incomplete sentences, we can then come to this really important rule, which is shown for you at the bottom of the screen. A noun or pronoun which is the subject of a verb is said to be in the nominative case. In our examples, the man, the woman, and the child are nouns in the nominative case, and the words it and he are pronouns in the nominative case. Earlier in the video we pointed out that to nominate means to name, that the nominative case is the naming case, and that the nominative case names the subject of the verb. The nominative case is also used when a noun or pronoun is the complement of the verb to be, or the verb to become, or the verb to remain. Let's look at a few examples of subjects and complements of the verbs to be, to become, and to remain. Now, when we refer to the verb to be, we mean any part of the verb to be. It could be a part of the verb to be which we use to express the past, such as was or were. It could be the present tense of the verb to be, such as is or am or are. It could even be the future tense of the verb to be, shall be, will be. In this first example, we are using the past tense of sein, which is war. War mein Feind. Is the subject of the verb sein. Mein Feind is the complement of the same verb. It is obvious that and mein Feind refer to the same person. In the second example, we see the past tense of the verb werden, which is würde. Würde mein Freund. Is the subject, and mein Freund is the complement of the verb werden. Again, it is obvious that and mein Freund refer to the same person. The same is true of the third example, where the present tense of bleiben is used. Bleibt mein Freund. Let's look at 3 more examples, and this time we'll use the present tense for all 3. The present tense of sein for a singular noun is ist. The present tense of bleiben for a singular noun is bleibt. The present tense of werden for a singular noun is wird. You'll notice that when the letter D appears at the end of a word in German, it sounds like a T. Freund, Feind, wird. Die Frau da drüben ist die Direktorin. Die Frau is the subject of ist, and die Direktorin is the complement of ist. The subject, die Frau, tells us who the sentence is about, and the complement, die Direktorin, gives us additional information about the same person. Both nouns are shown in the nominative case because they are linked together by the verb ist. In this next example, der Franzose is the subject of bleibt, and der Weltmeister is the complement of bleibt. The subject, der Franzose, tells us who the sentence is about, and the complement, der Weltmeister, gives us additional information about the same person. What we can read into this short sentence is that the Frenchman was already the world champion. He has just won the world championship again, so he remains the world champion. Der Franzose bleibt der Weltmeister. Here, the subject, der Junge, and the complement, ein Mann, indicate 2 different stages of human development, but because they are linked together by the verb wird, both nouns must be shown in the nominative case, and it is obvious that both nouns refer to the same person. Now let's think about gender. In language study, the term gender refers to the grammatical grouping of nouns and is not a biological term. So masculine does not mean male, feminine does not mean female, and neuter does not mean sexless. For example, der Tisch, the table, and der Zug, the train, are masculine nouns. Die Person, the person, is a feminine noun. Das Mädchen, the girl, and das Kind, the child, are both neuter nouns. Every German noun begins with a capital letter and is masculine or feminine or neuter. In most German courses, vocabulary lists use the nominative form of the definite article to show the gender of each noun. So if you're looking at a list of vocabulary and you see der Baum equals the tree, the word der is an indicator to you that the word Baum is a masculine noun. Likewise, the word die in front of Jacke indicates that Jacke is a feminine noun, and the word das in front of Haus indicates that the word Haus is a neuter noun. You will also see m dot, f dot, n dot, or mask dot, fem dot, neut dot, especially in dictionaries. It is important to know the gender of each German noun that you learn, and the best way of doing this is to learn the noun with the definite article. So learn das Haus equals the house, and not just Haus equals house. And try saying both German words aloud, writing them down or typing them to open up all the channels to your memory. Der Mann, der Tisch, der Zug, der Mann, der Tisch, der Zug. Die Frau, die Sonne, die Person. Die Frau, die Sonne, die Person. Das Kind, das Mädchen, das Buch. Das Kind, das Mädchen, das Buch. Now, I'm going to use this screen to show you a connection between the three singular nominative forms of the definite article and the subject pronouns which we need to express the third person singular. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you will see that the word it, that is the English word it, appears 3 times. In English, the subject pronoun we would use to refer to a table would be it. In German, the subject pronoun reflects the gender of the noun which it represents. So, must be used to reflect the gender of der Tisch. Der Tisch ist neu. Ist neu. Likewise, we would refer to a bottle as it. But because the German word for bottle is feminine, die Flasche, the subject pronoun sie must be used to show this feminine gender. Die Flasche ist leer. Sie ist leer. The German word for house is a neuter word, so we must show this gender by using the neuter definite article and the neuter subject pronoun. Das Haus ist alt. Es ist alt. Now, it's not unusual in any language to find words which are spelt identically but have very different grammatical functions. Having just learned that es is a subject pronoun which reflects the gender of the noun which it represents, it is worth knowing that the word es will also be encountered in other contexts where this definition is not valid. First though, we're going to focus on the left-hand side of the screen to look at a few more examples of how subject pronouns are used to reflect the gender of the nouns which they represent. Der Mann ist alt. Er ist alt. Der Ball ist blau. Er ist blau. Die Frau ist jung. Sie ist jung. Die Banane ist gelb. Sie ist gelb. Ist das Kind klein? Ja, es ist klein. Das Buch ist neu. Es ist neu. Let's switch our attention now to the right-hand side of the screen, and first let's look at how we sometimes use the word it in English in a way which is not associated with gender. In the first scenario, person A asks, "Who's at the door?" Person B replies, "It's the postman. He has a parcel for Lisa." In the second scenario, person A says, "A woman phoned from the kayak club. I didn't get her name." Person B replies, "It was probably Sandra. She did say she would be in touch." It's the postman. It was probably Sandra. The word it does not indicate the gender of either the postman or Sandra, and is used because the person has not yet been named or identified. Once the person has been named or identified, a personal pronoun such as he or she can be used. He has a parcel for Lisa. She did say she would be in touch. As used here, the word es does not indicate gender. Es ist eine Frau. Es ist ein Mann. Es ist ein Buch. Es ist mein Bruder. Es ist meine Schwester. Es ist mein Buch. Another two words which are spelt the same but have very different grammatical functions are das and das. The definite article, das, shows that the gender of the noun to which it is linked is neuter. Das Auto ist neu. Das Kind ist glücklich. Das Haus ist alt. Now, if we didn't know it already, we now know from these three short sentences that Auto, Kind and Haus are all neuter nouns. In English, when we are not sure what something is, we might ask, "What is that?" Similarly, when we are not sure who someone is, we might ask, "Who is that?" The word that, as used here, is a demonstrative pronoun. It is used to point out or draw attention to something or someone. The German equivalent is das. Let's look now at some examples of the German demonstrative pronoun das. Was ist das? Wer ist das? Here, the demonstrative pronoun does not indicate the gender of the noun to which attention is being drawn. Das ist die Frau. Das ist der Mann. Das ist das Kind. And with the help of some bright yellow highlighting, that last example should help you to remember that das is not the same as das. Der Baum, ein Baum. Der Fuchs, ein Fuchs. Der Hund, ein Hund. Der Junge, ein Junge. Der Mann, ein Mann. Die Banane, eine Banane. Die Bettdecke, eine Bettdecke. Die Frau, eine Frau. Die Jacke, eine Jacke. Die Katze, eine Katze. Die Kuh, eine Kuh. Die Schlange, eine Schlange. Die Wolke, eine Wolke. Das Rad, ein Rad. Das Kind, ein Kind. Das Boot, ein Boot. Das Auto, ein Auto. Das Buch, ein Buch. Das Haus, ein Haus. Das Sofa, ein Sofa. Das Bett, ein Bett. Alt, jung. Klein, groß. Traurig, glücklich. Schwarz, grau. Alt, neu. Gelb, grün. Auch, sehr. Ziemlich, nicht. Er ist, sie ist, es ist. Nein, ja. Was ist das? Das ist kein, keine, kein. Was ist das? Ist das ein Junge? Nein, das ist kein Junge. Ist das ein Mann? Ja, es ist ein Mann. Ist der Mann alt? Nein, er ist nicht alt. Er ist jung. Was ist das? Ist das auch ein Mann? Nein, das ist kein Mann. Ist das ein Baum? Ja, es ist ein Baum. Ist der Baum klein? Nein, er ist nicht klein. Er ist sehr groß. Was ist das? Ist das auch ein Baum? Nein, das ist kein Baum. Ist das ein Junge? Ja, es ist ein Junge. Ist der Junge traurig? Nein, er ist nicht traurig. Er ist glücklich. Was ist das? Ist das ein Hund? Nein, das ist kein Hund. Ist das ein Fuchs? Ja, es ist ein Fuchs. Ist der Fuchs alt? Nein, er ist nicht alt. Er ist jung. Was ist das? Ist das eine Kuh? Nein, das ist keine Kuh. Ist das eine Katze? Ja, es ist eine Katze. Ist die Katze schwarz? Nein, sie ist nicht schwarz, sie ist grau. Was ist das? Ist das eine Wolke? Nein, das ist keine Wolke. Ist das eine Bettdecke? Ja, es ist eine Bettdecke. Ist die Bettdecke alt? Nein, sie ist nicht alt, sie ist neu. Was ist das? Ist das eine Schlange? Nein, das ist keine Schlange. Ist das eine Banane? Ja, es ist eine Banane. Ist die Banane gelb? Nein, sie ist nicht gelb, sie ist grün. Was ist das? Ist das eine Jacke? Nein, das ist keine Jacke. Ist das eine Frau? Ja, es ist eine Frau. Ist die Frau alt? Nein, sie ist nicht alt. Sie ist jung. Was ist das? Ist das ein Rad? Nein, das ist kein Rad. Ist das ein Kind? Ja, es ist ein Kind. Ist das Kind groß? Nein, es ist nicht groß, es ist klein. Was ist das? Ist das ein Boot? Nein, das ist kein Boot. Ist das ein Auto? Ja, es ist ein Auto. Ist das Auto alt? Nein, es ist nicht alt, es ist neu. Was ist das? Ist das ein Buch? Nein, das ist kein Buch. Ist das ein Haus? Ja, es ist ein Haus. Ist das Haus klein? Nein, es ist nicht klein, es ist groß. Was ist das? Ist das ein Sofa? Nein, das ist kein Sofa. Ist das ein Bett? Ja, es ist ein Bett. Ist das Bett alt? Nein, es ist nicht sehr alt. Es ist ziemlich neu.